जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जगवल्लभ गिरधारी जय गोपी जगवल्लभ गिरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधमाधव प्रिय बिहारी जय राधमाधव प्रिय बिहारी Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय राधा गिरिधरी राधा गिरिधरी राधे, जय राधा गिरिधरी राधा गिरिधरी राधे, जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ, जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा, जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय, गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय, जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा, प्रभुपदा शिव प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपाद की जय। Let's begin with the Bangla Chara. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamelam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagan Radnatanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsya हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। I'll begin with reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita from the place where it was left yesterday. I'll be reading from chapter which is titled New Jagannath Puri. 25 years old Linda Crash was walking in the park when she heard the sound of the kirtan. In the crowd of hundreds of people gathered around the scene, Linda found it easy to go close without becoming conspicuous. She felt comfortable watching and even thought of joining the fun. Then she noticed the Swami leading the singing. She was startled, even a little frightened, having never before seen anyone so grave. He was striking, and the dancers appeared beautiful to her. A girl with arms upraised and eyes closed seemed to be swinging like a tree in the wind. One of the men was tall and attractive with golden curly hair, and Linda was a boy she and Linda saw a boy she knew from the college in New York, a crazy boy who always wore a shocking pink wool cap. Linda had arrived in San Francisco from New York only a few days ago. She had no plans except to study under a certain dance teacher and maybe get into some of the existing things which she had heard were going on in Haight Ashbury. As a graduate student in ancient Greek literature at Columbia University, Linda had become attracted to Socrates, who had lived and died for truth. But she had not found any of her professors to be at all like Socrates. She had envisioned herself living a life of truth by pursuing scholarship, but it had become dry. The ancient civilization of Greece was a dead idea, not a living truth. It didn't touch her. It didn't touch the heart. She had been aching for a new, exciting experience, and she was ready to throw herself into San Francisco's hippie society. She had come here alone, giving up her fashionable clothes and donning bell bottoms and old shirts. But because she wanted to be serious, she felt awkward trying to fit in with the hippies. She felt that to belong, she was supposed to wipe the serious look off her face and just smile mindlessly. So even in the society of San Francisco's hippies, she remained unsatisfied and lost. The kirtan in the park was the most beautiful sight Linda had ever seen. The dancers were swinging back and forth, their arms raised against the open eye, and in the middle of the dance was a dark, gray-haired, wise person sitting and chanting. As she moved in closer, she began to sway with devotees. Then she sat down and started chanting, wanting to find out what was going on. After more than an hour of chanting, the elderly leader finally stopped the kirtan and Linda began talking to some of the devotees. Although the Swami had slipped away, some of his followers had remained, handing out flyers and invitation to the Sunday love feast and picking up timpani timpani and the flags. One of them asked her to come with them to the temple. Linda found the devotees to be something like hippies, but not scruffy street people like most of the hippies she had met. They were attractive, not repellent. Mattresses and plants decorated their little storefront temple. When she stopped before a painting of people singing and dancing, one of the devotees said that this is Lord Chaitanya and his associates. A devotee gave her some prasadam, and Linda left that night without meeting Swami. I'll stop it here. We heard how Linda was trying to reach to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita ki jai. Let's glorify Srimad Bhagavatam before taking up today's verse. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiv narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayamudiyet Devatam swakatha Krishna punyasham kirtana Hridayam stoya bhadrani vidnoti swet satam Nashprayeshav bhadreshu nityam bhagavad seya Bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhakti neshtati Yad kirtanam yad shravanam yadikshanam Yad vandanam yad smaranam yadarhanam Lokasya sadyo vidnoti kalnasham तस्मै सुभद्रशंसे नमो नमः। निम्नगानां यथा गंगा देवानामच्युतो यथा वैष्णवानां यथा शंभु पुराणानाम् इदं तथा सर्वशास्त्रादिपीयूषा सर्वैदिक सत्फला सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्या सर्वलोकैक दिक्पदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभु कलियुगान्तोदितादित्या श्री कृष्ण परमति परमानंद पाठाय श्रीवशाय अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेयाय श्री कृष्णाय नमस्ते मदेक बंधु मत संगित मत गुरो मन महाधन मन निस्तार भाग्य मद आनंद नमस्ते असाधु साधु तादाई अति नीचोता कर आनाम च कदाचिन मां प्रेमणा हिरकंठ्यो सुरा यस्य वैश्रीमाणानां कृष्ण कृष्णे परम पुरुषे भक्ति उत्पद्यते पुंसा श्लोक मोक्षया भवा. So today's verse is from Canto 4, chapter 29, verse number 71. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 71. Supti murchotpatapeshu pranayanvidhatataha ehate am iti jnanam mrityu prajvaryorapi. Supti murchotpatapeshu pranayanvidhatataha ehate am iti jnanam mrityu prajvaryorapi. Supti murchoptapeshu प्राणायान विघाततः नेहते अहम इति ज्ञानम मृत्यु प्रज्वार्योरपि. सुप्ति मूर्छोपतापेषु नेहते अहम इति ज्ञानम मृत्यु प्रज्वार्योरपि. सुप्ति मूर्छोपतापेषु प्राणायान विघाततः नेहते अहम इति ज्ञानम मृत्यु प्रज्वार्योरपि. सुप्ति मूर्छोपतापेषु प्राणायान विघाततः नेहते अहम इति ज्ञानम मृत्यु प्रज्वार्योरपि. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Word translation. Supti, in deep sleep. Murcha, fainting. Uttapeshu, or in great shock. Pranayan, of the movement of life, of the life air. Vighatata, from prevention. Not. Ihte, thinks of. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Jnanam, knowledge. Mrityu, while dying. Prajvaryo, or during high fever. Api, also. Translation. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. Support. Foolish people deny the existence of the soul. But it is a fact that when we sleep, we forget the identity of the material body. And when we awake, we forget the identity of the subtle body. In other words, while sleeping, we forget the activities of the gross body. And active, when we active, when we active in the gross body, we forget the activities of sleeping. Actually, both states, sleeping and waking, are creation of the illusory energy. The living entity actually has no connection with either the activities of sleep or the activities of the so-called wakened state. When a person is in deep sleep or when he has fainted, he forgets his gross body. Similarly, under chloroform or some other anesthetic, the living entity forgets his gross body and does not feel pain or pleasure during a surgical operation. Similarly, when a man is suddenly shocked by some great loss, he forgets his identification with the gross body. At the time of death, when the temperature of the body rises to 107 degree, the living entity falls into a coma and is unable to identify his gross body. The body is choked up and the living entity forgets his identification with the gross body. Because of our ignorance of the spiritual body, of which we have no experience, we do not know the activities of the spiritual body, and in ignorance we jump from one false platform to another. We act sometimes in relation to the gross body and sometimes in relation to the subtle body. If by Krishna's grace we act in our spiritual body, we can transcend both the gross and subtle bodies. In other words, we can gradually train ourselves to act in terms of the spiritual body, as stated in Narad Pancharatra, Rishikeshan Harishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate. Devotional service means engaging the spiritual body and spiritual senses in the service of the Lord. When we are engaged in such activities, the action and reactions of the gross and subtle bodies cease. हुकुम करोति वाचालं पंगुलंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्री गुरुदीन सहारकम्. As we know, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are presentations in the form of questions and answers. Questions are raised and the answers are given by the speakers. Before we go further on this verse of today, let's have a recap of what was going on in this chapter so far, and also in the little bit in the previous chapter. At the end of previous chapter, that is chapter number 28, when Narad Muni concluded the story of Puranjan, Narad Muni told King Prachina Barahi that this was, he rather revealed that this was an allegorical presentation. It was meant to deliver a message on the science of self-realization. After hearing this, King Prachina Barahi said that, okay, I heard your story. I could understand a little bit, but I could not understand fully. King said in the first verse of chapter 29, Bhagwan te vachosmabhir na samyak abhigamyate kavyastad vijananti na vayam karam mohita. I understood some part, na samyak, not fully. Samyak means totally or completely. I've not understood the message you were trying to convey. The reason is that I'm bewildered. Na vayam karam mohita. I am bewildered by the fruitive actions because I am engaged in fruitive actions, sacrifices, etc. Therefore, my intelligence is not as good as those who can understand. Kavyas tad vijananti. Kavyas, intelligent people can understand, but I could not understand. And therefore, could you please repeat? At that time, Narad Muni again started explaining the situation of the body with 9 gates. Narad Muni explained about the situation of those 9 gates, their purpose, their objective, their location, etc. Narad Muni explained this from verse number 2 to 26, and then from verse number 27 onward until around 55. Narad Muni explained the process of transmigration of the soul. And he also, Narad Muni explained the role of mind which is played when we change the body. I remember I had discussed in detail hours from 11th canto last time. नायम जनों में सुख दुख हेतु ना दैवात्मा ग्रह कर्म काल बना परम कारणम आनंदी संसार चक्रम परिवर्तयेत. So this is in a way repeated by Narad Muni, that mind plays a very important role in the transmigration of our body. And Narad Muni also revealed that the only way to counteract or stop the transmigration from one body to another body is Bhakti Yoga. At that time, King raised another question, which was quite valid one. And you say that we suffer or enjoy the fruit of our action in the present body, but since the body is finished, how does it work? How can we enjoy or suffer a result of our fruitive action in the body? Then Narad Muni explained that at the time of death, while the gross body is finished, but subtle body still remains. As we learn from Bhagavad Gita, we are made of essentially 8 elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Reja, Ahankar, Ityane, Vidna, Prakriti, Ashta. 3 are subtle bodies, and 5 are bodies made of Mahabhut, 5 Mahabhut. Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, earth, air, water, ether, and fire. And 3 bodies which consist of subtle body, Man, Buddhi, Ahankar, that is mind, intelligence, and false ego. So even when death comes, that takes place for the gross body, but not for the subtle body. This is what Narad Muni explained. And Narad Muni also attributed one more reason to our continuation of having material bodies. That is the conception of aham mameti. Aham mameti means aham means I am this body under false identification, and everything related to my body is mine. Aham mameti. So that propels us to take fruitive action, and in turn we again have to take material bodies. And then Narad Muni repeats that mind is the cause of our repeated birth and death. And Narad Muni also confirms, sometimes we all have experienced that in the night or when we sleep, we see dreams. And in those dreams, we sometimes see things which we have never seen in this life or never experienced in this life. And Narad Muni confirms that we call it that these are the weird dreams, but actually there is nothing weird about it. Narad Muni confirms that for sure we have experienced or we have seen those things in our previous lives which appear in our dreams. And then Narad Muni says that there are 3 things. As long as those 3 things exist, our material bodies will exist. And those 3 things are: 1, the conception of aham mameti, I'm this body, and everything related to my body is mine. And second, mind. Third, interaction of the material mode of nature. So as long as these three things remain, our continuation of material body will remain. And now we come to the present verse in which Narad Muni explains that there are 5 situations in which we suspend our identification of the body. We falsely identify ourselves as we are the on the body, and in 5 situations, the false identification is suspended for the time being. Now, so far we have been hearing from the Acharya of Bhakti on the issue of transmigration. And we also heard King Krishna Bharihi raising some valid question. Let's take another perspective. Let's also hear what Lord Krishna had said in a conversation with Uddhava. Because Uddhava also raised a similar kind of question which were raised by King Krishna Bharihi. Uddhava wanted to know from Lord Krishna as to why some people get superior body, some people get not so superior body, rather inferior body. What is the cause? So Krishna gives very nice explanations, and I picked up a couple of verses on which I'm going to make some explanation, which are related with today's talk. Krishna, first, in the first verse, Krishna says, "Mana karam mayamne naam indriya panchbhirjutam loka lokam pratyanya atma tad anuvartate." Krishna says that the mind of the person, which is shaped by the fruitive activities, that causes a living entity from moving to one lok to another lok. Loka lokam pratyanyat. Pratyanya means travels. In the form of subtle bodies, which is consisting of mind, false ego, and intelligence, we have to transmigrate from one body to another body, from one planet to another planet. And then Atma Tadanuvartate. And that is followed by the soul also. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smarna bhavam jajante ante kalevram tam iveti konteya sada tad bhav. Whatever we think, particularly at the time of leaving the body, antakalescha mameva, whatever form we think, we have to, or whatever nature we focus on, we have to take body in that form. Bhagavatam not only establishes principles of living, but it also gives examples to us to understand. We know in the case of Jad Bharat Maharaj, he had to take 3 lives to achieve the perfection of life. In the first life, as a King Bharat, he was a high-class transcendental. And while in that body, he got attached to a deer, a baby deer. And finally, because of his total absorption in bringing up that deer, he had to take the body of a deer. And by the mercy of Lord, he was able to remember his previous position. And then he decided to leave the body of deer, and then finally he got the body of Jad Bharat. So, and then he achieved the perfection of life. So all this confirms that whatever state of mind we are thinking at the time of leaving body, we have to accept another body uh, on the form we were thinking. Then Krishna defines what is, when we say we are dying, Krishna defines what is death. विषयाभिनिवेशेन नात्मन्यत् समरेत् पुनः जन्तोर्वै कस्यचित् हेतो मृत्युरत्यन्त विस्मृति. What is death? I'll simply read the translation Srila Prabhupada has given on this, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada has given on this verse. When the living entity passes from the present body to the next body, which is created by his own karma, he becomes absorbed in the pleasurable and painful sensations of the new body and completely forgets the experience of the previous body. This total forgetfulness of one's previous material identity, which comes about for one reason or another, is called death. Srila Prabhupada, in making explanation in his purport, says that because living being falsely identifies his body as self, he considers the death of the body as death of the soul. Whereas Bhagavad Gita clearly says that na jayate mrite va kadate ayam bhutva bhavitavana puya ajonita shashtam yam purano nahanete annemane sharire. That soul does not die, it doesn't take birth, it is existing time immemorial, and it is always fresh. But it also, the verse includes word Puranas. I was reading Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Pad's commentary on this verse, and on this word Puranas, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Pad says that somebody may think that the word Puranas means historic. If it is historic, if the soul is historic, then it can be construed or it can be understood that it is something which is going to be older, which is already very old, historic. But actually, it is not the case. It is always nitya, it is always fresh, which is again confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Achedyoyam adayoyam akledyo shosho evacha nitya sargata sthanur achaloyam sanatana. Sthanur, word sthanur means it is unchangeable. Soul is unchangeable and it is sanatana. It is ever fresh or eternal. So then in another way, in another verse, Krishna defines what is birth. The total acceptance of the new body as self is considered as birth. We heard Narad Muni saying, and also Lord Krishna saying, that mind is the root cause of our transmigration, from moving from one body to another body. But actually, there is another cause. Mind is a kind of apparatus. It is a kind of instrument in getting a new body. But actual reason are different. That is what Krishna explains. Arthe haya vidyamane pi samsimriti na nivartate dhyayato vishyanyasya swapne natho gamo yatha. Arthe hai avidyamane pi. Actually, there is the material life has no factual existence. It is compared in this verse with a dream. My Guru Maharaj says that the dream in the night and the life we are having as material life, they are kind of dreams. The only difference is that the dream in the night is broken when we wake up, but this dream is broken when we meet the death. Both are dreams. And we can have a realization. The kind of relationship we have, the kind of possessions we have, they're going to go away, like in the dream. We see something, but we don't actually possess them. So similarly, we are not going to have an everlasting relationship in this material world. So all these things are just like a dream. And Krishna also says that in this verse, Dhyato Vishyanyasya. The actual cause of our transmigration is our absorption on sense gratification. Dhyato, or meditation on Vishyanyasya, on the objects of sense gratification. And in Bhagavad Gita also it is said that in Bhagavad Gita it is said that ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु उपजायते संगत संजायते कामा कामा क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति समोहा समोहा स्मृति विभ्रमा स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Is a very nice sequence of events which takes place. When we meditate on sense objects, what happens? We develop attachment. Dhyayato vishyan sangasteshu bajayate. We get attachment. And from the attachment, what do we get? We get sangasteshu bajayate. Kama krodha bajayate. We develop lust. From the attachment, we develop lust. And from lust, we develop anger. If that lust is fulfilled, we develop greed. We need to acquire more. We have got a good car, now we want another car. We have got one house, we want another house. That's it, greed. And if that lust remains unfulfilled, then it turns into anger. Why haven't got it? And then krodhat bhakti samoha. And when we are angry, it creates illusion in our mind. Samoha samriti vibhrama. And illusion causes us damage to our memory. And when the memory is damaged, the intelligence is destroyed. And when intelligence is destroyed, everything is destroyed. So therefore, Krishna advises not to be absorbed in sense gratification. And then in the next verse, Krishna says that Krishna gives instructions to Uddhava. Tasmat Uddhav ma bhungshva vishyan asad indriya atma grahan nirbhatam pashya vaikalpantam brahmam. Since material life does not have any factual existence and it is caused by the focus or absorption on sense objects, so Krishna says, Tasmat, therefore, Uddhav ma bhungshva. Ma means no, don't try to enjoy the sense gratification because it will prevent you from realizing the self. Therefore, he says that see the Vaikalpikam Brahmam. See the Vaikalpikam Brahmam is just like dual illusion. And what is that dual illusion? We think we are the lord of everything we see. We have to acquire it for our sense gratification. Whereas the actual proprietor of all the things in this material world is Lord Krishna himself. And therefore Krishna also advises in Bhagavad Gita, Ye samspasha bhoga dukh yoni evte ade antarant kunteya na teshu ramte buddha. Those who are intelligent, those who have got good intelligence, they do not focus on sense gratification. So Krishna says that this same instruction is given to udva, ma bhunsh. Don't try to enjoy the sense gratification. Then, on the issue of sense gratification, these days it's very hard. We have senses, we have to employ them somewhere, and we also see sense objects. So how do we overcome this situation? And as I said, particularly in these days of Kali Yuga, I heard Haldar Swami from Bhubaneswar is saying that he said, uh, uh, with the mobile phone in hand, the two sense objects are immediately met, hearing and seeing. And he said that jokingly, that it is the play of the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga went into the mind of that scientist and inspired him to create phones so that people get involved in sense gratification in this Kali Yuga. Then I was saying that since we have got senses and we have got sense objects, how do we uh, do we not allow ourselves to enjoy the sense gratification? So we heard Srila Prabhupada quoting a part of the verse from Pancharatra. Hrishikeshan, Bhakti Ruchati. The full verse is Sarvopadi Vidurguptam Tat Tartve Nirmalam Hrishikeshan, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchati. With it is mentioned, Srila Prabhupada in the purport also, devotional service means engaging all our senses for the satisfaction of the Lord of senses, that is Rishikesh. And Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam, by leaving all designations. At this moment, we are, because of the illusion, we think that I am an engineer, I am a chartered accountant, I am a president, I am this, I am that. But we do not think of our actual identity. And our actual identity is what? Naham Vipro, Nacha Narpati, Napi Vaishya Nashudro. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written for us. Nam Vipro, Nacha Narpati, Napi Vaishya Nashudro, Nam Varni, Nacha Grapati, no one asto Yapi Vakintu, Prabhoji Nakil Parvanam, Purnam Tam Der, Pupir Bhaktipat Kamaleo Das Dasanu, Dasa. I don't have all these designations. My only designation is servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Now, this also helps by realizing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given to us. It helps us to deal with the issue of aham mameti also. We come out of this aham mameti once we start realizing the purport of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written. And finally, since we are a kind of in helpless situation, we can always take shelter of the Shikshastram's fourth verse. Ainan tanuj kinkaram patitam mam vishme bhavam badhav kirpya path pankaj sita dhuli sudarshan vichintaya. Oh Lord Krishna, I am somehow or the other fallen into this material world, and please pick me up and give me shelter at the dust of your lotus feet. By this way, we can attempt to seize the continuation of our existence in the material world. I think that's all I have to say, and I'll give a pause to my speech in case somebody wants to add something, say something. Hare Krishna. Then Shri Bhagavatam ki Prabhupada ki jai.